Right now, we have Vincent, the CEO of Artefact, joining us. And I would really like you to join me, welcome him to the stage. He's going to take us through some insights on how to use generative AI in businesses to drive value. So let's have a round of applause for Vincent.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Pascal. Thanks for having me. I will try to put the stage on fire. Not too much, but I think we got covered. So I'm very happy to be here for probably your 250 conference on Gen AI. You probably know already a lot, but I hope, and I guess we'll have some surprise today. Basically, for us, it's been a full year about a lot of projects. And as Pascal mentioned, a lot of, hopes, also a lot of learning, as I would say. And we are still very surprised by the depths and the different types of projects we can do. So today I'm going to share not everything, but some of the things, that strikes me a lot during this year. We did 160 plus projects, 25 of the use cases today we did actually live and work with some end customers, and we measure like today 30,000 already end user within our client company already interacting with these tools, which is to me way above everything used to be on just AI. So Gen AI is, as you can see already, a trend that touch into everyone's life in the company we work with. Clearly, and I would like to start with that, we see actually a shift from, I would say, traditional, technology. We used to be, a tech environment, going to a lot of different schemes we could not have thought before. Creative, design, all of this sphere used to be human focused only, are actually completely, touched by AI. And if I need to make a guess, I think this year and probably, next year as well, will be really touched by the power of this technology as regard to the fact that they can interact with the creative brain. So we'll see more and more photo, video, music. All this will be touched. Maybe last year was all about text. I guess this year and next year will be about rich content. So and we'll have, I guess, with Google we'll have the opportunity to talk a bit more about it. I would like to make an announcement. So maybe some of you know already, but it's Artefact 10 years anniversary. And so for our 10 years, we've decided to make a big, thing, which is to launch the first in the world, I guess, the first AI film festival. So we'll partner with a French company called MK2, who is actually a movie distributor in Paris. And we have decided to launch a competition to gather, people all over the world, leveraging this technology to produce AI animated movies, so it will be short movies. And the idea is that Artefact will make sure people are actually using technology. We ask people to use technology for pre-production, production, and post-production. And then an artistic jury will decide, to vote, and will vote for the artistic value of the movie. So for us, it's a way to help people leverage this technology to, create some willingness to try, to create the condition of trust, because a lot of this technology are still people are still very afraid. When I talk to movie makers, when I talk to journalists, they are very they are a bit excited, but also they are very afraid by this technology. And we want to carry a message of hope for the future. And actually, this for me is a great example of how we could leverage technology for the best and for the power of creativity. So we'll have Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who is the movie maker of the movie Amélie, one of the greatest movies in the world, hosting this festival. So if some of you are interested, you can start the competition the 5th of June, which will be the date of Adopt AI. And we hope we have many participants in the world. The jury will deliberate in November, and we have the announcement in November. So it's a good news I wanted to share about how AI can create really strong impact not only for businesses but also for society. Maybe coming back to business, because we are here to talk about business. So it's been 1 year, and when I think about, how, AI and Gen AI can touch upon, our customer and, the use cases we see, what we see is a full acceleration, right? So it's just an analysis published out of a report published last week, which is a report coming from Stanford University, following the trend of, the path of the speed of this model. And as you can see, so all the dots are actually one single model. So as you can see, so all started probably in 2010, 11, but it was very shy, mainly driven by academic research. And as you can see with this purple, dots, is that the industry, so Google, Microsoft, AWS, but also private company like Mistral, are actually accelerating a lot. And today, as you can see, there is an acceleration in the number of new models, new algorithms. And what is interesting is that these algorithms are universal algorithms that will also lead to tons of products. So each of these data points should lead to a lot of innovation behind it. So for me, it's just the beginning of the wave of innovation, because all these dots will actually carry a lot of innovation by themselves. A second thing which is very important to me is that for the first time ever in history, we see the machine really competing with human capabilities, right? Every year, we beat some, human capabilities. Used to be text recognition, used to be images recognition. So all this, which is like common sense, reading, seeing, actually the machine are better than human. There are still, things like thinking, understanding complex tasks, planification, which are actually where, the mankind is still, way advanced than machine. But honestly, and I don't have the answer. There is a debate in the scientific community, but we see the speed at which, this technology are catching up. It's really impressive. And honestly, sky is the limit. So every year there are new benchmarks because all benchmark has been beaten. So it's really impressive, the speed, and who knows, to which extent this technology could go. So these are examples of things, which were completely impossible a couple of even months ago, right? Based on new image recognition. So it's, as you can see, it's based out of Gemini. I knew that some of our Google friends were in the room today. So it's based out of Gemini. So if you can just share a picture of an omelette, but half cooked, the technology is able to recognize it's an omelette, it's half cooked, and giving advice, to flip back, the omelette to cook the other half. It's very impressive. Honestly, few months ago, this was completely impossible. So tools are catching up in terms of word understanding very, very fast. As far as companies are concerned, there is a consensus in how these tools are today used to have a huge immediate impact in terms of productivity. So this is an analysis based out of companies that deploy Gen AI for some functions. As you can see, there is an homogeneity, right? Sometimes it's a bit like 15, sometimes it's a bit like 8, but there is a full, consensus around the fact that this technology has a huge impact, both in terms of revenue increase, but also cost decrease. So we are generally speaking about like 10 to 15% productivity, either on revenue or cost, on all, the different departments. Is it the financial department, human resourcing, marketing? So what is impressive by these technologies is their universality. Everyone is concerned, all, the areas, traditional areas are impacted. So our message is, okay, we need to understand how to use this technology to reshape, the way we work and the business processes. So it's what I'm going to talk today. So when we think about, how this technology actually used, by our customer, by our clients, we see actually three ways to use that, right? And the impact they will have depends a bit in the three ways, right? The first one is that they really augment people, right? If I'm a software engineer and I use, Copilot to help me, there is an augmentation, but it does not change the way I work. It just, it's an improvement in productivity. If, I'm an HR person and I ask this tool to review some resume, it does not change the way I work, but it's a huge increase in productivity. Typically, we see I saw before, we see 10 to 20% productivity, right? Just by correctly using this tool in my day-to-day work, right? The second scope we see is that in some cases, not only improving the productivity, is completely reshaping the way people work, right? And this reshape function to me is completely new, and it's probably things which happen, over 20 years of time in the digital transformation, actually in probably 6 months, 10 months, sometimes with AI. So we call it reshaping function. I will show example of that just after. And the last part is innovation. All this fundamental model, not only they help, directly by using this technology on the way people work, but they also help to innovate, right? So if you think they have a double effect, one, they are used, to improve the productivity, and two, they are used to improve the speed of research itself. So we have some kind of a double-edged effect. On the long term, it will also help to innovate and create, new business model, new product, and we'll show some examples as well. So the typical example of augmentation we see is at software engineering, right? And we did the exercise at Artefact, out of the population of software engineers. And basically, we tested, on some very specific KPIs, what was the impact of deploying some technology. So we used GitHub Copilot, we used other technologies as well, to improve the productivity. So we very, simply we measure the speed of publishing lines of code and the speed of publishing commits in GitHub, for example. And what we saw is, depending, and I will come back to that, depending on the population, depending on the task, we saw some improvement of productivity between 20% to 30% of productivity with an average of 1/3. What we learn as well is that this technology are not suitable for every task, right? It's worked very well for example, code translation, tests, like unitary tests, traduction, writing simple APIs. It does not work today for very, very advanced reasoning for new lines of code, because coding is it's like creativity. So you need to have some creativity as well. What we learn as well is that it's not suitable for everyone. It's not working very well for young people. For example, if you're young people and you don't start properly your first lines of code, this tool will diverge, and it will be your line of code will be not good at the end. So you need to have some knowledge of how to code properly. So there is still a lot of learning experience on how to use this properly, how to deploy it properly on the tech team, but for sure there is a huge improvement in productivity. The second example I want to show is something we did for Orange in Paris, for the telco company, and it's not about reshaping function anymore. It's really about, improving the productivity anymore. It's really about reshaping functions. A use case we did for the network division of Orange, and one of the main purpose is what we call troubleshooting. What happened and how to be able to react if someone, has lost the connection, if there is a network issue somewhere. Usually, these people, they don't know how to react, and they don't know where the issue is coming from. And you have probably 20 to 30 pages of PDF. You have Excel files. You have a lot of material, and people need to spend time to investigate. What we learn is, on average, it could take from 1 day to 50 weeks to understand where the network issue is coming from. What we learn as well is that using these tools, so we fine-tune an algorithm, Mistral actually, on understanding, the network issues of Orange. And what we learn is that these tools are able to understand, sometime in less than 10 minutes, things that could take days or weeks to a technician just to try to understand the context, right? And it's actually not only understanding, it's giving, solutions directly. So we are speaking about potential cost. The cost for Orange is a couple of billions. If we deploy this correctly for Orange, we are speaking about hundreds of millions of savings and completely reshaping the network division and how the people, solve issues. And it's also, a lot of end solution, for the customer. So we work to a pharmaceutical, not a pharmaceutical, it's a perfume and aroma company in France. And their job is, so they're a research engineer, right? Their job is to produce new formula, perfumes, aroma, that will, you will put into a yogurt, you will put into perfumes. And what we managed to do with GenAI is to completely reinvent the way these people work, by giving them access, to AI. They were able to completely, automate part of that job. And so basically we managed to train an algorithm with GenAI able to write an end-to-end formula based out of a brief. So sometimes you have people, maybe Beiersdorf, maybe Unilever, maybe Danone, asking a specific brief. So they just send pictures, they send, material. And these people, they have like specialists like that, trying, different stuff to try to match, the customer need. And what we actually managed to do, and I will maybe circulate this, we train an algorithm, so we managed to do that. It's a perfume, 100 different ingredients on that. And all this ingredient has been suggested. So the name of the ingredient and the proportion has been suggested by AI. Of course, after you have some modifications afterwards. But what is very impressive is that maybe a few suggestions, but the people themselves, they were very impressed, by the fact that only 2 to 3% of modification have been made, and the algorithm was able to interpret correctly the input data. So if you want, Pascal, maybe you can circulate this, and I have a second one. You will see, actually, it smells very good. So an example of innovation, by this tool. Last is we are working with a shoe company, and it's also, this tool are completely also changing the way a designer work, okay? And we actually are trying, to use this technology to create very, very quickly, new products based on trend detection. We can, suggest things to the designers, they can, adapt. And also it's a productive game, because with the tool, we are talking about stable diffusion, Gemini, they have also tools as well. You can, change, the way the shoe is done. So it's very impressive. It's a tips for designer, but also productive game for them as well. So question at scale, how we do that at scale? It's a big question. Today, I'm a bit more pessimistic than you, Pascal. When I do the math, it's only 5% of the projects which are, actually scale. To me, it's also a consequence of the fact, technology is robust and it's easy to test. So it's not only a bad thing, it's easier to test and fail, right? But the truth, it's also more complex to industrialize. And why it's more complex to industrialize? We have like two big challenges we face today. The first one is technical challenges. Okay, now we show examples. A lot of question about price and cost. Sometimes it could be very, very costly, as all the costs are variable because typically you call APIs. Two, we don't have solution for proper evaluation of frameworks. So we don't know what we don't know. We don't know sometimes, the model are giving completely wrong answers, and this we don't know it. And the second is transformation challenge, how we reinvent this work and processes, and how we adapt skills, how should we train people to the different skill sets, right? So this is an example of Air Canada. I don't know if you read this news, but Air Canada, they had some very, very bad, issues, about someone flying to bury his grandparents. So a funeral, the person needed to go back and forth, for the funeral. And they asked to the chatbot, so Air Canada's chatbot, what was the policy for funeral? And the chatbot said, we are really sorry. Of course, there is a solution for you. We will repay half of your ticket. This is almost completely wrong. And the company said, no, you will not, pay back everything. And so the company has been, sued there's been a lawsuit, and they have been, committed to pay a fine, for, all the emotional, situation. So now all our clients are very afraid and concerned by the, the Air Canada problem. And still working with Orange, we actually tested on some historical conversation, and even the most advanced algorithms, they made some problem. Is there a warranty on the iPhone 15? Yes, there is a 5-year warranty, but there is not a 5-year warranty. There is a 2 years warranty. It's not something that it's actually it's not a big problem, but it's still in terms of maintaining a good relationship with your customer, it's still an issue, right? So what do we do for this? We do a full, reinforcement learning from human feedback. So to be able, to trust your algorithm, you need to test it, right? So the first way to do it is to test and to make sure on historical conversations there is no, mistakes. And if we need to do it, so we did it. We actually doing it for, one chatbot at Orange, and so there is 100 chatbots at Orange. We do it for one, and what we did, we tested for one. They call it intention. So they have intention for people who want to understand the warranty, and intention for people, to finalize their payment. One intention, to churn. For one single attention, we decided to check 100 conversations. For each conversation, we need to do from 1 hour, half an hour to 1 hour investigation to check, that the algorithm is giving a good answer. And sometimes it's giving good answer. Sometimes, with the example of the warranty, it's not giving good answer because in this case, we need 2 years warranty and you can buy an additional 3 years extension. So this is the price of trust. This is the price of safety. So it takes time, to check manually, but it's very important. When we do that, we retrain the algorithm afterwards so that it knows, what is the problem. So it's called reinforcement with human feedback. There is also a second way, which is something we are trying now, which is reinforcement with AI. So instead of using human, you can also use a second AI. And it's something which is more and more, and I'm sure Google will also talk about it, but it's more and more tested in the community that you can use a second AI to check, the performance of the first AI. So you can automate the process, of checking, the answers. You can automate when you build, your agent, when you build your LLM, but you can also automate in the run. And what we do now, we have a confidentiality, a trust score, for each answer. We know what is the probability, and we know because the second algorithm is just trained to check, if the first algorithm is right or not. Okay, and based on this probability, we decide to investigate. We decide sometimes to not to let the algorithm answer, but to let a human person answer. And this, to me, will be progressively more and more, the way the industry should, behave. Some parts of the work will be done by chatbots. Some part will still remain by human because it's like very complex, right? So we are trying, to investigate how to do that. There's also very cool, technology. We call it. We have like a framework. I will show example like Longsmith or Agas, which are new frameworks, which are actually used today by the technology community to, industrialize this process as well. In real time, you can track all, your answer. If there is a probability that the answer is right or not. So these are examples of industrialization. And also, what's next? What is sure is that these algorithms, they still need to learn and to improve, right? So it's an example of a math score, where it's like very complex math problem asked, by algorithm, and they check the performance, the difference average with like students, right? On this math problem, you still have a huge gap, between all the best algorithm and human average. But as I explained at the beginning, it's catching up. So it will be, I don't know if it will be for tomorrow, it will be for next week, for next month, for next year, but at some point it will come, right? So we should expect, an average improvement of all these tools in all the aspects of our lives. For tomorrow, we see 3 main trends, which will be more and more the case for us in the future. One is we will see this tool to be more and more specialized. As they are not perfect, as a general algorithm, we see more and more tendency to specialize with very, very curated data. So tools for financial services, tools for HR department, tools for marketing department. So we expect to see more and more specialized tools for this. At Artefact, we're also building some of these tools ourselves for marketing department for that. Second thing we expect is a huge boost in everything relating to creativity. This year will be the year for video making, will be the year for, photo adaptation, will be the year for music, dialogue. All that will be, improving a lot this year, probably. Last one is agent, right? All these tools today are making suggestions, are making ideas, but they are not completely linked, to be able to make proper automated, not only decisions, but also actions, right? And we see more and more these tools linked to robots. So that, not only you can decide what to do, but you can let the machine take some decision. should I call, should I not call, we also see this machine, for example, plug to cars. So it will be able to plug, in Tesla's engine, some LLMs as well. So they will improve, the way they behave. So we expect, this tool to be plugged also with IoT systems and automated machine to be able to make not only recommendations, but also actions. Thank you very much for listening to me, and happy to take some question afterwards if you have. Thank you very much.